All right, welcome back again. We're here with Quarantine Conversations brought to you by VAWA. My name is Brian Hazard with Virginia Wrestling Association, and today we're going to continue our conversations with Virginia college coaches. We have Nate Shearer. Nathan is the head coach at Washington Lee University in Lexington, Virginia, and W&L is one of our great D3 programs. He's been there 9 years and has brought a wealth of knowledge to our Commonwealth, and he also does a bunch in policy within the NCAA. So welcome, Nathan. We just appreciate you being here. How are things going in quarantine?
No, I mean, obviously different for everyone. But to be honest, not real boring. I have 3 kids. So we have my wife goes into work still every day. I'm the homeschool teacher in the mornings. So our routine is a little bit different than their typical school. I think they want to get back. We started up with some morning PE outside. My homework and my math and science is a little different than the normal teachers. Then we move in the afternoon. We have I introduce shop class, so I'm always in the middle of a building project. So we got the home basement sauna going on right now.
Yeah, I saw pictures of that, man. That thing looks awesome, man. All beautiful wood, and I might need to come down and do some sauna workouts in Lexington.
Yeah, no, I mean, my 6 and 8-year-old, I mean, they're getting to use the nail gun, the drills, and the chop saws, and so they're getting a little, yeah. Well, like I said, you heard what I said at the beginning. Mom is at work. When Mom gets home, we reel it in a couple times, a little bit. So
she's gonna make that honeydew list even longer when she sees the school that's going on in her house.
Yeah. And if I open this door right here in my playroom, right here, I have a 20 by 22 wrestling mat. It's right behind me. I mean, you talk at wrestling, WWE. I set up an American Gladiators course yesterday. Obviously, everybody wants everything to return to normal just as fast as possible. But I mean, there's a part of me that, I mean, I'm at home all day with my kids, and so it's kind of like this little balance where it is kind of nice in that respect.
Yeah, and I don't think there's a college coach or a coach that I've talked to that hasn't talked about the need that now it's going to be kind of a normalcy to spend so much time with your family. You know, I've been married for 23 years, and I think I've spent more time in the last 4 weeks with my wife than I have in all those years. So it's been kind of nice being at home and spending time with family.
Yeah, no, my wife had the exact same comment the other day. She said, "This is the most I've seen you in years." Because we were like at the month mark. And what I feel really good though is like nothing's changed with us. It's a really positive thing. You know, it's not like it's been bad for our relationship. No, we joked about it, but no, it is. Again, everybody wishes things would go back to normal, right? You know, there's just a lot of people around Virginia, the United States, the world. But if you're always trying to look at, have a good perspective and trying to find out the positives in things, I mean, we're going on all kinds of crazy hikes. We're hanging out. I mean, that's how my perspective. That's how I'm keeping it.
Yeah, you have to, and you know, it's the control the uncontrollable, right? You know, control the controllable. What you can do, and controlling that is an important thing. So let's talk a little bit about Washington and Lee. You know, the program obviously has been around forever. I mean, Washington and Lee, right? But you followed Gary Franke, who was there for 38 years as the head coach. You've been there 9 years now. So what are some things that you've done to really create a culture on campus for your wrestling program? And what are some things that you're looking to do in your vision for the future with the program?
No, so I mean, one of the first things I did when I got here is we set up our schedule. If you kind of backtrack just a little bit, when I first got here 9 years ago, we were the only Division III program in the state of Virginia, and so I mean it's rapidly growing, and I think what happened is, you know, there's kind of a perfect storm. I mean, obviously there's an academic requirement to get in. It's really, really hard, and you know, we honestly don't get really supported in admissions. You know, we don't get slots, and we don't these things like that. You know, but there was a perspective of like not knowing what else was out there. That the team didn't leave the state quite a bit. So the first thing I did, I mean, we flew to Vegas, we went to Ohio, PA, New Jersey, we drove to Rhode Island to wrestle. and just getting them exposed to all this national level competition. And man, we had some individual success, but I think it really kind of pulled the Band-Aid off to see kind of maybe how bad it was. And I don't say that in a bad way. And then as we started, at the time, me and Ryan Riggs, who now is at Ferrum, we just, started trying to get ourselves out there, no different than anybody else would. And I think, to be honest, it was a little easy for us because when you could get families to visit Washington Lee, it's just a beautiful place, like the town of Lexington, the Shenandoah Valley, the Blue Ridge Mountains, the campus itself. So once people could see it, it is a really nice place. We started getting a little momentum. And then around the same time, there's just, Ferrum started wrestling. SVU went to Division III. And you have Averett, now Roanoke has started, and Shenandoah. I don't know if I'm missing any in there. I mean, but there's more Division III programs are adding.
Yeah, you have 7. I mean, you have Emory and Henry just came in as well, and then you also have like an NAI school like Bluefield, who is just up the road. So that whole 81 corridor for Division III is just, you have some natural rivalries that have built right under your nose.
No, so I think that how can that not help? And when they're quickly have become really good programs. Ferrum is a tremendous good program. Averett has great individuals. Maybe some of those, maybe a school on the beach could take notice and not drop anything. Maybe we could, trend the other way. But no. So I think that's helped that because then competition helps everybody, and so it's been fun where we've got small little rivalries. I mean, our duel at Ferrum the last 2 years, wow. It's been packed at both places, our place and at their place. I mean, standing room only. I mean, hundreds of people in there. We had it this year, and our entire from top down administration was there. President, vice president, provost, dean of students. I mean, all kinds of faculty and athletes supporting one another because, and I like that because Ferrum helped make that happen. They're a really good team. We're a really good team, and we dueled Averett and these small local programs. That's making us all better. So it's a really fun time to be coaching wrestling in this part of the state, especially in Division III. And on top of that, we have great Division I programs in this area too, right? I mean, we got Tech, UVA, we got gyms. I mean, he's doing awesome at VMI. So this area of Virginia is really nice.
No, and it's absolutely crushing it. And I know that when you and Joe Russell first kind of got started, you guys came up and wrestled them, and it was we need. So when I wrestled at Mason in the long time ago, up until the early 2000s, they did a Virginia State wrestling tournament where every program in the state would get together. I mean, right now with 12 programs in the state, including our 13, including Liberty and Apprentice School with the clubs, that could be one heck of a tournament, and it would be a good thing. I think that might be something that within the NCAA we could look at doing for a weekend. I think it could be a huge draw, but that's me looking forward. So
Liberty's another one. Liberty's great. I mean, they got some tremendous individuals. You mentioned Joe Russell. I still don't know him very personally to this day, but my first interaction when I got here, and it might have been the first or second year that he got at George Mason at the same time. He called. I answered my office phone, and he said, "Hey, this is Joe Russell. I'm new at George Mason. Do you want to come up and duel us?" And my first reaction was I said, "Yeah, as long as you guarantee to come back and duel us the next year." And I thought he was going to say no. Of course, Joe. Yes, no problem. And then he sent me a contract, and in there he put a 2-year contract in there, so he was going to keep his word. And so we go up there to wrestle them guys, and they beat us, of course. Well, afterwards, he's handing out my guys a bunch of shoes, wrestling shoes. So I don't know where he got these shoes. I don't know what brand they were. It wasn't like an ASIC or Adidas. But my team came. We walked up like 8 pairs of new wrestling shoes. Then we come. Yeah. Awesome. And the next year he comes down and he duels us. And we were trying to build some momentum, so we invited a lot of people to campus. From administration. The duel ends, and he and his team are helping us rope the mats. I thought, Joe, you beat us on the mat. You don't have to rope our mats too, like.
and that's such a wrestling mentality, isn't it? I mean, you got that workmanlike, and he's really trying to benefit both of you, which you don't see that in football, right?
No. I mean, and my AD, it was kind of like her first experience of, she goes, what is it about you guys? She goes, they just came down here, a Division I team, they beat you, and then him and the coach and the team are rolling up the mats and folding chairs. And I just thought that's how it was a little bit. And like you said, I mean, but so you mentioned his name, and I just thought that was kind of my first interaction with him the first 2 years. It was, again, I don't know him on a deep level, but just on the surface, he just seems so awesome. He's so tremendous. He's so great.
That's who he is. He's an awesome guy, and he's got the dream job at USA Wrestling now. But so before you got to W&L, you were in Heidelberg in Ohio, and obviously a Division III view. For kids who are looking at schools, and I'm going to talk to you, I'm going to ask the question here in a little bit about what you're recruiting specifically at Washington and Lee. But what about the Division III model is so attractive and should be more attractive to kids who are looking for a place to wrestle?
Well, I'll just answer as a coach. And I think this, I was partial to it from the beginning. I wrestled in Division III. And I think what maybe, just again, get the coaching hat on, early on, my wife and I, our daughter's going to be in high school next year. So she's 15. So our daughter was born very, very early. I mean, I was in grad school. I was actually in undergrad and grad school. My wife was in law school at the same time. I was a GA for wrestling, driving an hour north of Bowling Green to take grad classes. And so I don't see really a scenario where that could have worked, even being involved in Division I. And I don't think that's a negative at all. I just think that you hear that balance, that work-life balance, that family balance all the time. So, for me personally, it allowed me to stay in the sport. I think wanting and hungry and trying to move up the ladder or maybe division, I don't really do it like that. I've always been very comfortable in Division III, but I had some other things going on too that just allowed me to stay in it because I could. I mean, there's a lot more downtime. I mean, let's just face it. When we're outside of season, the NCAA, just because of the rules, there's a lot more downtime. And I think it's not talked about enough, but I enjoy it, to be honest. I mean, I don't feel like I've had to miss a lot of my kids. I miss a lot. I don't have to miss year round. I can carve out pass and I can carve away. So I have to miss when I'm in season. It's tough. You're getting home late. You're going in the morning. You're going early. You do miss a lot. But then I feel like I have an outlet. I have to kind of get through the season, and the spring is tough with the recruiting. There's a lot of events, but then there's a lot of time period where people are just coming to our campus, and so that's just my perspective. I've always appreciated that, and so that's, as a coach, that's what I love. Yeah.
And looking at that Lexington area, just the history of it and the beauty of it, it is really a special place. I have a friend who owns some property down there, hunting and fishing, and he can't get enough of it. But you were
I grew up right next to Heidelberg.
Yeah.
I mean, I grew up 12 miles from there.
Wow.
And so it was hard to leave. But I tell you, when I interviewed, I thought, this is it to me. I think there's moments in life where I don't know whether you just find whether it's like you just know when it's it, and then you try your best to make it happen. But yeah, it's I think as an athlete. Kind of circle back to your question, I think there's a lot of stuff going on there that it kind of comes down to what would you like to do with the next 4 years? Like I think you can divide a little bit. You don't have to make these monster sacrifices. And I think sometimes that is a myth. Like it doesn't have to be all wrestling or all academic. I mean, we've done a really good job lately of just combining these two experiences. And we have plenty of guys that are just really tough guys that have placed at national level tournaments while they're in high school. I mean, high school national, Super 32, like they're really, really good wrestlers, but they want to study abroad all summer. They want to do internships and research. So, and I don't ever like to, I don't like to compare and just say like, that makes us better or worse. Like things are just different, and that's okay.
Right. And those differences are important. And that's why for every kid who wants to wrestle in a college, regardless, they can find a place in the spring and throughout the school year and throughout the season. When you are looking at kids to recruit, obviously W&L is a different place to recruit just because of the expectations academically. Tell me a little bit about the individuals that you do recruit, what are some characteristics of those kids that make it maybe easier for you to get that person in, or somebody who you're looking for in your program?
I mean, ambition is the first word that comes to mind in all the positive ways. I mean, they have to be very, very ambitious from early on. When we're submitting transcripts and test scores, they're going back to their freshman year fall courses, and there's not opportunity for slip up. So these people have to be really ambitious early on with their grades in school, and that's before even I have anything to do with them. They really have to be a little, like purposeful and intentional on, making sure they're taking the highest rigor and course load that their school offers, and having a vision of what that looks like at the end of 4 years. And these are all things I talk about now and had no idea when I was in high school. Zero. No idea. I remember taking the ACT after I graduated, Brian. High school.
It was a different world. And that's awesome.
No, and now I'm telling a kid, like, you only have 7 APs. Why are you slacking? And my high school didn't offer an AP. and so it's the type of people that,
it's brutal. It is. We're a full IB school, and so I get it. These kids, they're taught from the time they're in 7th grade, you have to be taking this path if you want to do this school. And I can tell you in the 80s and the 90s, that wasn't something that I was ever thinking about. So it has to be purposeful.
Yeah, no. So those guys, I can't take a lot of credit, because for 4 years of high school, I started to see these resumes and these transcripts and this course load, and then I think, and they do this well in wrestling. Like, you start to get kind of a little bit inspired by it. And you're coaching a lot of guys like that. And then you add in, the resume is not just, here it's holistic. They're not just looking at the academic portfolio. Of course, I'm looking at athletic, but then there's this, community service piece. There's this extracurricular piece. Then you look at the how they lead organizations or startup nonprofits, or they're a number chair in the school orchestra, or a lead in the drama. It's like, wow. And so I don't know how much. Why would I take any of that credit? They were, for 4 years, they were really ambitious and intentional on a path. Now, they may not know the exact career or academic field at this point, but someone has really been in their ear of hey, do this to open a lot of doors for you. So I give so much credit. There's just so many parents and high school guidance counselors and administrators and teachers. A lot of times when we get them, we're just trying to guide them and not screwing them up, to be honest. We got a really good package coming in.
Yeah, that's amazing. So, I think you really gave a view of what Washington Lee's all about. Obviously, you have to be the top of the top type of kid, well-rounded. And obviously you want good wrestlers in there too. But the Division III model, and obviously, I've had the opportunity to be a part of the Division III, on the announcing crew. And I just love the tournament. I love the model. I think it's incredible. And I think you as coaches work a lot better. There's a lot more synergy within the coaches in Division III, just because that model is such where, of course, you want to go and beat Ferrum, and you want to beat Averett, and you want to beat Shenandoah, and you want to beat all the teams that are in your area. But at the end of the day, you're really doing an amazing job of building kids, and I appreciate you for that. Now, last question. And I've asked this of all of the interviews that I've been doing with our quarantine conversations, but as a high school coach, as a youth coach, as a fan, as a person who's a stakeholder in the sport, what can we be doing better to benefit you at Washington and Lee, and really to benefit the sport in general?
I honestly, I think the biggest thing is just increasing the awareness of what we talked about at the beginning, how many real opportunities there are. There are so many opportunities, and they're growing. And the more that those opportunities grow, the more that we'll have more opportunities. It'll turn out more opportunities because more colleges will start programs. But I feel like, and I don't feel like this. I think some of the data and stats show where I think wrestling is usually in the top, it's 6th, 7th, it doesn't really go outside the top 10 as far as high school participation numbers. Then we just have a big drop off when it goes to college. And and I don't have the solution. I don't know the solution, but keeping kids in the sport, and acknowledgement of like so many opportunities out there, and it's what may be good for someone at Tech or UVA or VMI or George Mason, and then there's 7 Division III programs in Virginia. So I think we spend a lot of our time just probably just letting people know we have a program. I think a lot of the kids do, but when we talk to the high school coaches, sometimes they weren't aware of it. I don't think that's not personal. That you can't know everything. So I think just probably just a lot of education. Like, hey, who would like to wrestle in college? Who would like to take it beyond? And maybe that doesn't mean, hey, that's 365 days a year where you're grinding it out and running yourself out of the sport. Brian, I've got guys on my team. I'm proud of these guys. They come to practice every day. They're great guys. Like they're on it probably more for like a social aspect sometimes. It doesn't mean they're bad guys. They don't get in trouble, but I'm not going to run them off. Why would I run off a guy who loves the sport? I can always find something for him. He has a place on our team, and those guys are they're just as important as our starter guys. Those are role player guys that, I mean, the cool thing about them is like, you're going to know this, you coach, like, they're going to always surprise. They're going to find a way to surprise you.
At the end of the year, every year we do a senior speech, and some years we have 5 seniors, some years we have 17 seniors, and to talk to those kids and see, the one kid who says the only reason I was on here is because my best friend was in it, or because I wanted to be a part of something great, or I wanted to keep in shape, or I just really liked being around this group of coaches. Everybody has their own want and need for the sport, and I appreciate you making that a relevant case for being a part of a college sport. Not everybody's going to be a national champion, but they can all be a part of it. So that's amazing. Anything else for us, Coach Shearer?
No, I mean, this is a little bit of a, not I want to say self-promotion, but we're in a different time right now. But we're going to, starting tomorrow, we're opening up a series that will get us through the spring. And then we're going through the summer. We're going to do a series of these Zoom calls with prospective student athletes, and they're gonna be really divided up, and they're going to go to some deep dives. I mean, we've got one tomorrow with just the coaches. We've got some coming up with the team. We've got alumni ones. Then we're going to dive deep into the academic realm. So we're going to have like the dean of the business school on one, and because it's really a challenging time. I think everyone's going through this. How do kids? We're getting this a lot. Like, Coach, I'm interested in your school. What do I do? I can't visit, and you can't visit me. And I think everyone by now is familiar with Zoom. Why
didn't I buy stock in that, 6 months ago? We could have been billionaires at this point.
Oh, right. Yeah. So that, I mean, I think, just probably we use our emailers. We're trying to get on social media. This is another great thing. And let's be honest, maybe this stuff doesn't go away. Maybe the Virginia coaches and podcasts and Zoom interviews and YouTube channels, maybe that sticks around because I don't know, it was probably needed before, but now it's critical. How do you communicate and message and stuff like that? So maybe what comes out of this is that we stay on top of these sort of things, these virtual tours and and use all the resources that people have available in this connectivity to the sport. And I mean, like you're setting this up.
And it's awesome. Honestly, selfishly, it's been awesome for me too, because I don't do very well in an introverted way. I'm kind of extroverted. So the fact that I get to spend time talking to friends, talking to people, learning about programs, I'm hopefully at the end of this, after I put them all onto the internet and put them onto YouTube, I'll be able to have something a package to give to coaches to talk about programs and build from there. So. Nate, I just appreciate you so much. I wish the best for you and your family and also your program moving forward. And, if anything we can do from VAWA or the coaching at large, please let us know.
Yeah, no, absolutely. This has been great.
Cool. Well, again, that's Nate Shearer from Washington Lee, and we appreciate you and wish you the best of luck.